afternoon, football fans, and welcome to our very special 2022 NFL Draft Recap Edition of 3 and Out, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. I am joined here by the one, the only, Mr. Mike Patt, and today, or tonight, depending on where you're listening in the country, we are going to recap what was a very eventful, and my goodness, I am not exaggerating when I say very eventful NFL draft. Vegas did not disappoint, I'll tell you that right now. What an amazing draft that was. City of Las Vegas, we thank you for hosting an amazing draft. And well, I think everybody enjoyed it in many different ways. Because, well, first things first, the draft was just awesome in general. Lots of great picks came off the board in the first round. And, can we just say, it was great seeing all those appearances by former players, awesome people involved, and well, the picks themselves were great. 5, can we say 5 Georgia players off the board in the first round? What an amazing feat for these guys. This has been a great offseason so far. So many free agency transactions and a great draft to cap it all off. Well, OTAs are coming up next. But first, Mike and I got you back. As we get ready, you are tuned in live to a very special 2022 NFL Draft Recap Edition of 3 and Out right here on IE Sports Radio, your directed for all that is sports. Welcome, football fans. My goodness, what a draft we had. As I mentioned, we're cutting right to the chase here tonight. It's going to be a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, he, of course, is the chief editor of the IE Sports Radio blog. He, of course, is the absolute best mixture of wine and sports you can find any Sunday evening, actually any evening. In my opinion. And, of course, as I mentioned, the host of Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming none other than Mr. Mike Patt. What's going on, brother? How you doing today, man?
I am doing great, sir. It is Friday night, and you said it, man. That draft was, that was a doozy.
You know, I had to learn this from my cousin's boyfriend. Doozy. I haven't used that in a long time, but crazy, right? It's a great word. And I learned from him that historically there was a car called a Duesenberg, and it was such a ritzy car that when people would see it, they would know, kind of like a Cadillac, and they'd say, that's a doozy, and kind of funny, and that's where it came from.
Interesting. Well, you learn something new every day.
Right? But absolutely, if I had to describe this draft in a phrase like that, I would definitely say it was a doozy. So, first things first, my apologies for my voice being very hoarse, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Mike, spring football has got underway. As I've said before, I coach varsity football. And, well, let's just say I'm getting my guys in good shape. So my voice is a little shot, but hey, it's all good. But with that said, Mike, let's dive right into it, man. Just give me everything. Before we get into the recaps of all the picks, man, give me everything, all of your initial thoughts, everything, all of your emotions from draft night.
Well, that was a wild draft night. It started out kind of boring, and then all of a sudden, we got to the middle of the first round, and there were trades. I thought the early wide receiver run kind of set the tone for the rest of the receivers on day 2 and day 3. I think a lot of teams did well. I can't really point to one draft particularly that I really didn't like, but I think a lot of teams did well, and one of my favorite teams did very well. Very exciting. Wild quarterback situation. That was insane.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I completely agree. How about Georgia real fast, man?
Dude, well, the funniest thing is that arguably the best defensive player from Georgia didn't go in the first round. He wasn't one of those 5. So the fact that they had 5 other defenders, it just shows how ridiculous Georgia's defense was this past year. The fact that, half of the freaking starting defense ended up going in the first round, and a good chunk of the rest of it did not wait much longer.
Absolutely, man. It was a great draft, and just knowing that all of those athletes from Georgia came out so early, it really goes to show you how special that team really was.
But I will throw one little more tidbit in there. So one of our co-hosts, Taryn Rodriguez, host of SoCal Supreme Sports Show, which is on later tonight, y'all check him out.
That's right.
He made a comment before the draft that he thought more defense was going to go in the first round than offense, and he even made a comment after the draft because of that top 5 being all defense, which, Larry, I'm sure you were very excited about that.
Very.
Defense went more in the first round. I went back and looked. Even split. 16 offensive players.
No way.
16 defensive players.
No way.
Because of that because it was that from 15 on, you saw 5 offensive linemen get drafted. So that completely offset that first bunch. And then, of course, the wide receiver run as well. That
was incredible. And honestly, Mike, let's get into the action, man. We have about a little bit over 50 minutes. Let's get this thing going. Commercial free tonight. Let's get going. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, pick number 1, of course, I hate to say it like that, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, they would get their guy. And you know what? Honestly, it was easy to see that, of course, overall, if you're going to have a pick in a draft that has so much meat coming from Georgia, might as well be the first overall pick, right? Javon Walker going on, defensive end from Georgia, heading over to Jacksonville. How about that pick, Mike?
Reminder to the audience, as if for those who tuned in last year, they'll remember that my draft grades do not go by letters. They go by, I use the system, love it, like it, we'll see. So that's my tier. So Jacksonville, with Trayvon Walker and their draft as a whole, falls very solidly into the we'll see category. Walker, amazing physical tools, but where was the college production that to back up those physical tools? We just didn't see it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of risk involved in the pick, so that's kind of what puts it in the we'll see category. Is we'll see in 4 years, did they really make the right decision by taking Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, or were they wrong?
No, I agree. Overall, I think this is solid. I think he's going to be an immediate impact. But once again, I do think this is a we'll see as well. They need to know. I don't know. The value is there. Overall, great pick. But yeah, the production, I don't know. It doesn't really match. But at the same exact time, we said it before, Mike. The Jags needed all the help they can get.
Right, exactly.
So,
If I were to throw an additional criticism for Jacksonville's draft as a whole, is that I do not understand how they let Trevor Lawrence get beat up in his first year in the league, and they only draft one third-round offensive lineman.
doesn't make any sense.
That is puzzling for me. It's like the best way to help your young quarterback. Well, there are two ways. One, get them weapons, which they sort of did in free agency, and two, you protect them. Where's the protection? They return most of the same offensive line. I shake my head on that one.
Yeah, you and me both. Next up, the Lions. Well, Mike, and by the way, I do want to start. I wanted to mention this. My bad. My apologies. When I introduced Mike earlier, I mentioned he is the chief editor of our draft. He's also the host of Let's Whine About Sports. However, he's also this year's NFL, 2022 NFL Draft 3-and-out competition winner this year. So congratulations, Mike.
That's right. And as I mentioned on my show on Sunday, it was on Tuesday the news broke that the Jaguars were favoring Javon Walker. So it was a Tuesday evening adjustment to my mock draft that got me the victory.
Hey, you know what, man? Heck of an effort, man. You made it happen this year, so wonderful job. Blew everybody out of the water, especially myself, but wonderful stuff there. Mike, pick number 2, the Detroit Lions. Well, I like Aiden Hutchinson. We knew Aiden Hutchinson was going to go quick, and he did. They picked this young man up, second overall pick. Honestly, Mike, I think it was the right thing to do. What do you think?
Not only was it the right thing to do, did you see how fast they got that pick in?
It was like...
That was the fastest number 2 pick I have ever seen in my... When did I really start watching the draft? 16 years of watching the NFL draft. It was the fastest number 2 pick.
It was
insane. Yeah, no, I mean, it was a logical pick. It was a great pick. I mean, you can't really argue against the logic. They needed edge rush help. He was the best edge rusher in this draft. And we said it on our mock draft show. If something happens and Jacksonville does not take Aiden Hutchinson, he will be the number 2 pick.
Agreed, and well said. Overall, man, I couldn't agree more. I thought it was it was the right thing to do. Absolutely 100%. And I think they got themselves one hell of an athlete there. So great freaking job to the Lions. The next pick was interesting. Why? Because I knew he was going to go early, but wow, this was really early. The Houston Texans. Well, we knew they were going to be in the hunt for anything at the moment. And why not? They picked up probably, if not the best, one of the best DBs off the board. Stingley Jr. from LSU. What do you think, though, about this one, Mike?
So in my mock draft, I actually had them taking Ahmad Gardner. So I'm not entirely surprised that they went corner, and honestly, I'm not completely surprised that they went with Stingley. Once he got the clean bill of health at his pro day, he started shooting up a lot of draft boards, so that didn't surprise me. It's also a logical pick because when you look at the Texans and you look at this roster, this is not a team that is going to be, and I apologize for all the Houston fans out there, this is not a team that's going to be particularly competitive in 2022. They're rebuilding. They got a young quarterback. They've got a lot of changing pieces on this roster. So it makes sense for them, with their high draft pick, to go for a guy, coming off of injury, needs some time to get into his groove, long-term upside, somebody who doesn't necessarily make them massively better in 2022 because they're playing for 2023.
Absolutely. The Texans, I think, the Texans did exactly what they needed to do because They need everybody. We talked about that. Can we draft a team? Can we do it?
Yeah, how many first-round picks can they get their hands on?
Seriously, Mike. I mean, yeah, they needed everybody. I hate to say this, but the Texans could have every first-round draft pick this year and still might be like a middle-of-the-road team. Like, I don't know what to say, man. I mean,
especially given how weak this quarterback class is, I don't think there's a quarterback this year that would vault them up above anybody.
Yeah, totally agreed. So, big ups to Taryn on the way. Taryn's going off in the chat room over here, talking about getting a search party for my voice. Thanks, Taryn, and how he really thought that it was a surprise Devonta Wyatt dropped the second round. That was a surprise. He says that the Jags are definitely going to beat the Colts in the upcoming season. So, hey, there you go, at home. And big ups to Adam Karnick, by the way, tuning in. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for tuning in.
And Taryn. Woot to Taryn, but I already shouted him out. So.
Yeah, great people, man. So, awesome stuff. Let's continue it on here. So, all right, Mike. Continuing here. Round number 1. I love the name. And I love the play on the field. Sauce Gardner heads to the Jets. Mike, was that a Jets pick or was that an actual, hey, you know what? That's un-Jets-like and they're doing what they should. What do you think?
Well, you can tell that the Jets were, pardon my language, pissed off about their secondary at the end of the season because they went out, they signed DJ Reed in free agency, they signed Jordan Whitehead in free agency, they re-signed LaMarcus Joyner, and then they used a top 5 pick on a corner. But no, I like Sauce Gardner. I had him going third. So, I mean, this is not a surprise to me. And I think, the Jets, this was not your typical Jets pick. I think this one was good. I think he fits in well. And I think he might be the best cornerback they've had since Darrelle Revis. Not better than Darrelle Revis, but since Darrelle Revis.
Great way of putting that, Mike. At first I was like, wait a minute, but no, you're absolutely right. Adam's being funny here in the chat room. He says here, in Pro Football Focus, under team needs for Houston, they said, everything.
Yes, that is correct.
Which is hilarious. So, poor team. If you
look at their draft, they pretty much took everything.
Yeah, seriously, they did. Yeah, in all. So, pick number 5, the New York Football Giants and the Jets, who had about 14 picks apiece the first round.
Gracious.
Yeah, that was insane. But the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau, we knew he was going to go somewhere early. Young man out of Oregon finds a home in Big Blue territory. How about this one, Mike?
I like this one a lot. I was a big fan of Kayvon Thibodeau, as were you, going into the draft. And I think the need for an edge rusher for the Giants was great. And, he was the best one available, and he was worthy of a top 5 pick. I'm also going to double down and talk about their number 7 pick. Because they're coming right up, so kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So Evan Neal, my guy from Alabama, who you did not think would go this high, sir.
I know.
Dramatic pause. Would go number 7. I like both of those picks. I think you got 2 guys with phenomenal physical upside who have the potential to be beasts in the trenches. And I think the future is brighter in New York. The problem is that they will still be clouded by the ongoing quarterback situation. But these 2 picks combined, A+.
Agreed. And absolutely. And honestly, the messed up thing is I forgot about Evan Neal. I don't know how I did. I was doing my draft so fast, so I'm like, oh, great. But yeah, he would have definitely been somewhere in there in the first round for me, but total blip there on my end. That's what happens. Oh, my goodness. I love the wedding, Mike, but we're getting loopy with 9 days to go, man.
That's usually about how it goes.
So with that said, pick number 6. And by the way, yeah, Terrence says, both New York teams have actually drafted smart. Have we entered an alternative universe? I don't know. Adam says Justin Fields or Tierney and Neal. I still love that trade for the Bears. I completely agree there. So Pick number 6, Akeem Mikwano, going on over to a team that, I don't know, I didn't really see this, but then again, I understand it very, very, very much. The Carolina Panthers. How about that one, Mike?
I liked it. I appreciated that the Panthers had patience and did not leap and reach at the quarterback position. This was a team that only had one pick in the top 93 picks. So, and the only reason that they had the next pick was because they traded up. So this was a team, they only had one of these premium picks. They decided, you know what, we think we got a shot. We're going to go ahead and get who we think is the best player available, who a lot of people thought was the best offensive lineman in the draft, and they went ahead and got their guy. And Nkwanu's going to come in day one. He's going to upgrade that offensive line, and he's going to make that offense better. It's kind of rare for there to be offensive linemen who are good enough to do that, but I think he's one of those guys that can really upgrade that whole unit.
No, he definitely is an absolute beast. Another beast, of course, Evan Neal, offensive tackle coming out of Alabama, going to the New York Football Giants. They just picked him. They got another one. What do you think, man?
Well, like I said, I thought it was a great pick. I think, those two Giants picks, I don't really see how the Giants could have done any better either. Like, there was no, combination for me that was any better for the Giants, the way the draft fell, than Thibodeau and Neal.
No, 100% agree. That was needed. So, very, very happy and proud of the Giants, I'll tell you that. Pick number 8 was just, it made me happy.
I bet it did.
It did, man. Drake London. We got to see this guy. I mean, Taryn and I get, of course, big USC guys. Watched this dude ball out of SC for a few years. Man, it was awesome watching him play in a Trojan uniform. And now he's going to be playing for the Dirty Birds, man. The Atlanta Falcons will draft Drake London, wide receiver out of USC, with pick number 8. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it in the middle? What do you think, Mike?
I love it. In fact, you know what? I'm going to say something that's probably going to surprise a lot of listeners. I loved not only that pick, I loved the entirety of Atlanta's draft.
Yes.
And here is why. It's kind of going back to the same logic I used for Houston. Atlanta is a gosh dang mess.
Yes.
They, even more so than Houston, they are not going to be competitive in 2022. They have the highest single dead cap hit with the Matt Ryan trade to Indianapolis, the highest single dead cap hit in NFL history. That is taking up almost a quarter of their salary cap space. This team, if you look at every position, is average or below. So what do? Well, you know what? Forget about trying to be competitive. Let's go all in and just not be competitive. So if you go from the end of 2022, not pre-free agency when everybody left and Matt Ryan got traded, end of 2022, then to now, there's, even with the draft, Atlanta is not better. In fact, they are probably markedly worse.
Yeah.
So this draft is accomplishing their goal of, and this is, again, a little bit of conjecture on my part, absolutely sucking in 2022 to try to get the best draft pick possible in 2023 and shoot for the stars for whoever player that might be. Might be a quarterback, might be one of the main quarterbacks, or it could be a premier something else. But this pick, Drake London, falls right in line with that.
Agreed, good sir. Well, I'll tell you, this next pick you know what? Yes, it just made sense for me. Charles Cross, offensive tackle out of Mississippi State, going over to the Seahawks. I thought that was pretty good, Mike.
Oh no, that was great. No, absolutely. This was the exact pick I had to Seattle at 9 was Charles Cross. I mean, he's a ready now left tackle. which even you could possibly argue that Neal and Mikwano weren't quite ready now, left tackles. Now, I think they'll be better than Cross in the future, but right now, to be a left tackle, Charles Cross was the best option. It was the biggest hole in Seattle's roster, was the left tackle spot, and I think he comes in day one and solidifies that spot for the next however long. I thought it was a great pick.
No, yes, he is that guy. We've seen before Okung was, who was that?
Walter Jones.
Walter Jones, yes. So I think we have this next big guy coming in to take that, so I love it. Pick number 10, Garrett Wilson to the Jets. Oh my gosh, Mike, they're picking with their heads.
Yeah, I know. It almost doesn't make sense, doesn't it?
No.
But, yeah, no, I mean, again, this was another pick I had. It was picks 8, 9, and 10 were the picks that really won me the competition. So, boom, boom, boom. But, yeah, no, I mean, talk about another pick that made perfect sense. You look at his style and skill set, it perfectly complements Corey Davis, who is their other starting receiver, assuming Wilson and Davis start, and their slot guy, Elijah Moore. So it was the perfect fit. It was great value, and I got to tell you, so going back to the Jacksonville example, the Jets, how do you help your young quarterback? You build the offensive line, which they did in free agency, and a little bit in the draft as well, and you go out and you get them weapons, and this was that pick.
It really was. I loved it. So, since we're getting close to halfway through the show, we're not halfway through the draft, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go the next 4 picks, just rapid, 1, 2, 3, 4, but still give solid on them. So, pick number 11, we had here Chris Olave. I loved it to the Saints. We needed another threat in a total rebuild, in my opinion. So, yes, wonderful. Jameson Williams, because why not? Because he was on the board. I mean, I don't really care what you need. This is that kind of generational dude you need. Solid for the Lions. Jordan Davis on over to the Eagles. Oh my gosh. Him and Fletcher Cox are going to be absolutely insane. I freaking love that. And oh yeah, Kyle Hamilton heading on over to the Ravens from Notre Dame. Mike, how about those 4?
Well, New Orleans' pick was great. I thought the trade-up was necessary. They foresaw the wide receiver run, so I like the logic and I like the execution. Jameson Williams, the pick and the fit makes sense, but that was a weird trade between division rivals.
It was.
Of all people. Like, that's still one that I think's got a lot of people scratching their heads. Not the pick, but the trade, like... That's when I think a lot of people were kind of questioning that part of it. Philadelphia getting Jordan Davis. As a Commanders fan, all I can say is, dadgummit, that sucks. Because he is a monster, and I feel sorry for our interior offensive linemen. And then, of course, arguably the best pick of the first round in terms of value, Kyle Hamilton to Baltimore. I mean, the Ravens, is that not the most quintessential Ravens pick?
It makes sense.
to go for probably one of the top 4 defenders in the draft.
Yeah, that's so Ravens.
Exactly. And it's funny because when the pick happened, it's like I wanted to be mad because safety wasn't really a need, but then I was like, but it's Kyle Hamilton. Like, how can I be mad at that?
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. So let's do it again for the next 4, and then we'll be pretty good on pace. So picks 15 through 18 here. Kenyon Green, offensive lineman from Texas A&M, to the Texans. Big guy. Once again, the Texans couldn't mess us up because they literally need everything. So good stuff there. You go on, sir, and go ahead. Have fun with the Commanders pick. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver out of Penn State. Honestly, you guys do need some speedsters, some more weapons out there. So I'm totally seeing why that happened. Chargers, Zion Johnson, the big man out of Boston College. I mean, damn it. When you have almost everything you need, might as well just beef up that offensive line, make the Chargers that much more scarier. Great. Wonderful as a Raider fan. And then, of course, Treylon Burks, wide receiver out of Arkansas, heading over to the Titans. Well, they do need it. They need some more guys over there because, well, that was interesting. With the wide receiver carousel in Tennessee has been interesting the last year or so. So how about all those picks there, Mike?
Well, yeah, so Houston, again, kind of fitting with the theme, trying to get good players but not make themselves massively better. I cannot name one offensive guard in NFL history, except for maybe you can make an argument for Quentin Nelson, who has come in year one and made their whole team better.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense, but he is a beast. So I understand that pick, absolutely. I had no fault with that. Commanders, Javon Johnson. I didn't have a problem with the pick. There was not really a player available that I was really drooling over, like, oh my God, the team needs to take him, especially since Kyle Hamilton didn't drop. So, they addressed the need with a really good player, a good weapon, and they traded back to get him. So they got some valuable day 2 and day 3 picks. Now, did they use them correctly? To be debated. But overall, I didn't have a problem with the pick. Did it wow me? No. Was it bad? No. It was just kind of, it was right in the middle. It was right in the middle for me. And then I like the Zion Johnson pick to the Chargers. Taryn, your guy's got a good one there. I think he's a day 1 starter. Now, where they put him is a little bit more interesting on the offensive line because he does have experience at 4 offensive line positions. Actually, I think he has experience at all 5 of them, actually.
That's huge.
From college. But where they put him, I know they won't put him at left tackle because they got Rashawn Slater. Mm-hmm. But wherever they put him, he will be a solid contributor. And then, the Titans trading A.J. Brown to the Eagles for the 18th overall pick and then taking a replacement for A.J. Brown, which, they saved money.
Yeah.
there's that going. It made sense. A.J. Brown wanted out. They didn't want to pay him, so they traded him and got his replacement. There's a surprising amount of logic.
No, 100%. Really, those were all solid picks. Terrence says here he wanted Jordan Davis on the Chargers. Understood. Totally understood there. But I get it. The Eagles would snatch him up nice and early, but or before them. But Zion Johnson, as he says here, built up the offensive line with the O-line. Absolutely. Why freaking not? Pick number 19. All right, Mike. Trevor Penning. This is awesome. By the way, big shout out to Trevor Penning's mother. She actually liked our post of Trevor Penning when he got drafted on Facebook.
What? All right, Mrs. Penning.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I clicked on it because I saw Penning and I was like, oh, and I looked at it, like, oh my gosh, that's his mom. That's amazing. And I was like, yes, Mrs. Penning, you're amazing. It's awesome. So that was so cool, man.
Wait. Follow-up question. When is she going to be on 3 and Out?
We gotta. I think we should reach out. You can tell she's very, very proud of her son. She knows her boy is gonna make a big difference. Mike, this pick was probably, it's in my top 5 favorites of the draft because this dude, once again, he's a smaller school guy. I raved about him in our last show. I love it. He's definitely not a small guy, but he's a smaller school guy, FCS dude. And you know what? Golly, what he's going to do for this Saints offensive line is amazing. They pick a beastie monster like him. He's going to make things happen. And honestly, you know what? I guess my favorite thing is seeing a guy from a smaller school stick it to the guys who came from bigger schools because it's like, you could have had me Oregon, you could have had me Wisconsin, but I went to a smaller school. I went to Northern Iowa and I dominated, and now I'm going to go ahead and dominate in the NFL. It's not the bitter approach. I hate to sound like that, but at the end of the day, I don't know, some guys get overlooked. So I really love it. He's a smaller school guy, and he's an absolute monster. So he's going to make a difference for the Saints. I really, 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 really love this pick. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, no, it was a fantastic pick. The Saints lost Teron Armstead to free agency. They didn't really have a definitive replacement on the roster. So the fact that they were able to get a likely left tackle replacement at 19 is a steal. And, those top two picks alone, the Saints aced the draft. I'm glad that they didn't, leap at a quarterback. It's because what I like to see when teams draft, right? I like to see that they have a direction. Atlanta, perfect example. I could tell that they were rebuilding. Why? Because every single one of their picks was a rebuild pick. New Orleans clearly thinks they have a shot at competing this year. And you look at the division, Atlanta's down and out. Carolina's got Sam Darnold. They've got an easy road to second place. So they went out. And, then they have to compete with Tampa, and then a wild card spot in the weak NFC. So they went out. They got two guys who can help them now, a third one in the second round, by the way, with Alontae Taylor, and they're going to take their shot at making the playoffs. And both those picks fit that narrative, so that's why I love it.
No, I completely agree. This dude, the Saints did well. And it's just this just says so much. I'm so damn excited. I want to see the Saints play this year, man. I am really excited for this. So, Mike, pick number 20. This is another one of my favorite picks of the draft because why not? That's my theme this year. Because why not? Because Kenny Pickett, a Pittsburgh guy, played for the Panthers. Pitt is a very strong school. Some years, other years, they're just kind of there. Let's just be real. But this year, I mean, you look at some of the guys that Pittsburgh has had in their program. Larry Fitzgerald, you had Aaron Donald, and guess what? Now Kenny Pickett, and he's solid. He has the measurables. The guy's a beast. And wouldn't you know it, he gets picked by the hometown team, the Steelers. I think the Steeler fans went freaking nuts. He was ecstatic. Just what a great one. It's hard for me to not like this one, so I love it. Kenny Pickett going to the Steelers. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think, it's a great narrative, obviously. The kid gets to stay home. Doesn't have to move or anything. Literally can just drive to his new team. But I think, and I like the pick overall. I'm not faulting the pick, but I wonder, and this is a hindsight is 2020 thing, how much further ahead Pittsburgh had Kenny Pickett ranked than the rest of the quarterbacks. And if they hadn't taken him with that pick, if they had gone for Jermaine Johnson or Trent McDuffie or one of the other really highly rated guys, could they have maybe gotten him in the second, given the way the quarterback carousel fell? Or if they hadn't, could they have waited and gotten someone else in the second? That's the thought went through my head after the draft. It was Pittsburgh got their guy, no fault, great pick. But I wonder, more out of curiosity, what the difference was on their board and whether they could have gotten somebody else and then taken a quarterback, almost as good a quarterback in the second or third round.
That actually is, I mean, yes, I can see that. That's kind of no, this is a bad comparison, but a lot of people were like, well, the Raiders could have got Clelin Ferrell we definitely could have a couple years ago. Definitely could have got him way later. Didn't have to go so early. So, I agree. They probably could have gotten him. I will say
this. I will throw this last addendum, and then we can move on to pick 21. If Kenny Pickett ends up not being the best quarterback in this class, then that might be a little bit of a dark mark on Pittsburgh moving forward. That they took him in the first, and the best guy, whether it be, maybe Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, whoever, didn't go until the third, fourth, fifth round.
Yes. Overall, I think personally right now, man, this was solid. Pittsburgh. Really quick question, Mike. Pittsburgh this season. What do you think?
Well, Pittsburgh, as long as Mike Tomlin is the coach and as long as they have the people who are running that organization, as long as they continue to run it the way they have, they will be competitive. Now, to what extent will be based on how well, if it's Mitch Trubisky, if it's Kenny Pickett. I have my doubts at this point that it's going to be Mason Rudolph, but it's going to be dependent on how the quarterbacks perform, and underrated thing that they did not address in the draft, how their offensive line does. They still haven't done a ton to address that position group, and it's not awful, but it's also not the greatest group at the same time.
No, completely agreed. So, pick number 21, Trent McDuffie, corner out of Washington, going to the Kansas City Chiefs. I gotta say, yeah, you know what? Good call, Chiefs. What do you think?
I thought that this was one of my 4 favorite picks in the first round. We've already done 2 of them, one being Aiden Hutchinson to Detroit and the other being Kyle Hamilton to Baltimore. But this was one of my 4 favorite picks that Kansas City saw the opportunity, traded up, got probably the 3rd best corner in the draft at 21 when the other 2 went in the top 4 and solved a major need by being aggressive. It was a great pick. I love the aggressiveness, and I love that they took their opportunity.
Me too. They shot their shot, and they won. That was just a wonderful pick, and overall, in a division that's getting scarier and scarier, and the window's getting smaller and smaller for Kansas City to keep on dominating. What a great pick. Pick number 22, the Green Bay Packers, Quay Walker. Hey, we got another Georgia guy coming on out, linebacker out of Georgia. How about that one, Mike?
Well, this one probably had every Packers fan in the country shaking their head that they went with a linebacker and not a wide receiver. But, I mean, he's got a ton of upside. Amazing size, 6'4", 240, runs like a 4'5" or something ridiculous. The physical tools are off the charts. He's a Georgia defender. Enough said there. I see, I understand that they needed some help at linebacker, but this was probably one of the more puzzling first-round picks. The fact that they went for him here, and they, there really wasn't a great receiver to go here, but I wonder if they couldn't have maybe gone, offensive line or defensive line or some other direction with this pick.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I think he's a great athlete, but I'm right there with you, Mike. I don't know. I mean, when you lose, I don't know. The Raiders' first-round pick this year, Devonta Walker. When you lose that guy, I'm thinking of Javon Walker. Thanks, Mike, for messing me up from last week. Mike gave me Mike gave me, you guys, one of the coolest yet wow draft trivia last week, saying that the last wide receiver they selected in the first round was Javon Walker back in the day. So yeah, I guess I'm going to Walker. My apologies, Mike. When you lose Devontae Adams in the first pick, when you lose him to free agency, and the Raiders pick him up, you definitely want to get somebody. Especially when your other wide receivers aren't that great. You definitely want to get somebody in there that can at least attempt to fill the void. I'm right there with you, Mike. I don't think this was It was a good pick. I get it. They're a defensive kind of team. They're historically defense, but you probably should have tried to get a wide receiver. I don't know if Rodgers is too happy about it.
Good news is he wasn't mad the next day, so, there's that.
He's still there.
That's true. He didn't just up and retire.
So, that's it. I'm done. So, Pick number 23, Kaiir Elam, corner out of Florida. Mike, how about it?
Well, first of all, shout out to Patty, the host of our Buffalo show. I'm sure she is listening wherever she is, one of our more dedicated listeners.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved this pick. This was one of my mock drafts pick. Admittedly, I had them staying at 25 and getting them. But this was, to me, their number one need. Buffalo was finding a good starting corner to go opposite of Tre'Davious White. And, oh, by the way, and I think I said this on our draft show, the last late first-round corner that the Bills took from the SEC was Tre'Davious White. So there's a little bit of history here, and I think there's a lot of logic in having Elam come in and being that number 2 corner to White.
Absolutely. Wonderful job. And I feel that the Bills are just getting better. This will probably be their division again. I'm really happy to see them continue their dominance. I love it. I think they're doing great things over there in Buffalo. The Cowboys with pick number 24. They have a guy by the name of Tyron Smith. A monster, future Hall of Famer, number 77. And he plays tackle. Well, why not add another big monster to this offensive line? He's also a big tackle coming out of Tulsa. And his name is Tyler Smith. How about that, Mike?
Well, the funniest thing about that is that when they do the jerseys, one's going to have to be T-Y-R Smith, and the other's going to have to be T-Y-L Smith. So that's the funny point number one. But number two, I understand the logic of the pick. They needed help on the offensive line, and I think some of the offensive linemen that we expected to be here that would help them were already gone. So I think they had to make this pick. He was the most penalized offensive lineman, or the most penalized player, I think, in all of college football last year.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of development that needs to happen. There's a lot of technique cleanup that needs to occur, but the physical upside is there. He can be guard or right tackle, probably guard to start because that'll protect him a little bit more, especially if they put him next to Smith. But I see the logic. There's a little bit of risk involved. We'll see.
I like that. We'll see. That makes perfect sense. Next one. This was a pick. You and I both loved this guy. He's a freaking beast. Pick number 25. The Baltimore Ravens select Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa. Mike, man, how about it?
So once again, for context, Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher from Florida State, who I had Baltimore taking 14th in my mock draft, was still on the board here. So when it came up, I was like, yes, take him. And then they took Linderbaum. And again, kind of like the situation with Kyle Hamilton, I was mad because I wanted them to take Jermaine Johnson. But how could I be mad that they took the best center in the draft, one of the best center prospects to come out in the past decade, a day one starter who has Pro Bowl potential at a position that has been a carousel for Baltimore since Matt Burke retired?
Man, I didn't think about that. Burke. Yeah, you got to go back a little bit for that one.
Right. So, I couldn't be mad at that. It was a great first round and a really good overall draft by Baltimore. But I will say, I did not love. At the time, I did not love that they had to trade Marquise Brown to get this pick, but then when I found out that he had requested to be traded, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, a little different, right? So, next up, Mike, pick number 26. We're getting closer. We got closing on 10 minutes, so let's do twos by now. So, picks 26 and 27, Jermaine Johnson the second. You and I loved this guy coming on out. You, of course, obvious Florida State alum. Me, because the guy is a defensive end that knows no other speed but full speed, and I love it. The Jets, another gem. My goodness. It's just weird seeing the Jets make good picks. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, Devin Lloyd, a dude that I absolutely loved in the Pac-12 coming out of Utah. Freak of nature. And the Jaguars, I honestly do like this one, Mike, a lot. What do you think about those two picks?
I love both of them. I love the aggression for both teams with high second-round picks, and especially the Jets with a little bit of extra draft capital to make that move to go up and secure another talented guy in both cases. The Jets, this was one of my favorite picks in the whole first round. This is, again, goes in that top four. He was the fourth one on the list. Addresses the pass rush. The Jets addressed 3 of their 4 biggest needs in the first round alone. Like, very few teams get that opportunity. That's insane to think about. And then Jacksonville, this was my favorite pick of the Jacksonville lot. I still think the draft as a whole is a we'll see, but Devin Lloyd is going to be an instant impact playmaker in that defense. And as we discussed, the Jaguars needed some instant impact on that defense.
Yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars, far much like their division rivals, the Texans, they need pretty much everything. So, I get it. I know they have their quarterback, but, they need everything else. So, yeah. So, next twos here. Devonta Wyatt coming on out of Georgia. He was the second to last. We still have another one coming off the board for in the first round. Going to the Packers, a big boy that they really, I guess they needed more interior. I haven't seen in dominance in the middle of that line since PJ Raji. Oh my gosh. And then Cole Strange, guard coming out of Tennessee Chattanooga. I love it. Another small school guy, FCS school. I think it's FCS. Coming on out, playing for the Patriots. Bill and his crazy picks. I love it. I think that was a good one there. Why not protect their young quarterback they have there? Solid stuff. But once again, wide receiver, Green Bay? I don't know. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely the question that everybody was asking. The difference with this pick is I think people will forgive them grabbing Devonta Wyatt because he is a freak. He is a monster. He does upgrade that front seven. I had a couple of renditions of my mock draft that actually had Green Bay taking him at 28. So this pick overall makes sense to me. Yes, it's not a wide receiver, but, at least it's a guy who I have better confidence that he will impact the defense than Quay Walker, at least early on. But, hey, 2 of the 5 Georgia guys going to Green Bay. I hope they have sweaters. But also New England with and this is a random award I came with. The head-scratching pick of the first round belongs to the New England Patriots, taking Cole Strange, who most people had in the 3rd round. Some people had him sneaking into the late 2nd. I understand the logic. They needed offensive line help. He's a plug-and-play starter at guard, but I don't know if the upside is there. I don't know if this guy's going to be a Pro Bowler down the line to necessarily justify the pick, but that's why there is what is it called, Larry?
Oh, we'll see.
That's why it's called We'll See.
I completely agree with you, Mike, because we will see about that pick. So, the next, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 here. 30, 31, and 32 to close the show out. George Karlaftis, absolute monster. I thought he might have gone to Philadelphia. He ends up going to the Chiefs. Great, wonderful for a Raider fan here. But absolute beast. The Chiefs, man, the AFC West is going to be so much fun to watch this year. Love it. And Daxton Hill, another beast here coming out of Michigan. And for the Bengals, you know what? Yeah, I could see it. Secondary help for them. And then Lewis Sign, another dude coming out for that defense. Out of Georgia, the final player coming on out, going to the Minnesota Vikings. What a way to end it. Interesting things going on here. But, Mike, give me your take on those last 3 picks.
So, I love the Kansas City pick, the George Karlaftis pick. I thought, honestly, and Kansas City's draft is not getting talked about enough because their first three picks, McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and then Sky Moore in the third round, that was their top three needs. They hit them with great value players, and then they crushed the rest of day 2 and day 3. Like, their draft is not being talked about, but it was probably one of the top 3 or 4 drafts this year. So I love that pick. Cincinnati, Dax Hill. This was the icing on the cherry on top of my mock draft because I actually had this pick too. Versatile defender. Gives Cincinnati kind of a chess piece in the secondary, can play corner or safety, so I really like that aspect to it. And then Minnesota fill in a major need at safety. They had basically nobody, or at least nobody proven, next to Harrison Smith. So Sign will get the opportunity to come in right away and play next to him and learn from one of the best safeties of this generation. So it's a great situation for him, and it's a great setup for the Vikings.
100% agree, man. I mean, there were some great picks this year. I just want to applaud a lot of these teams, man. But with that said, Mike, I want to get a couple questions for you. First round winners, who are they?
So I'm going to pick 3. I've got 3 winners for you. The Jets, we gushed and gushed over their picks. Fantastic first round. The Chiefs, like I just said, I thought they were big winners to get who they got when they got them. And then the Ravens, probably also got one of the best value picks and addressed a huge need. So I would say those are your 3 first round winners.
I completely agree. If I got to pick one, I definitely got to say the Jets. Because sure. Oh my gosh, you would never expect that. All right, losers. Who you got?
I would say. See, and it's tough to say anybody's really a loser.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but like in terms of being a head scratcher, New England, obviously their Cole Strange pick was a strange pick. There we go. I got that one. And also, I think who else had a weird Jacksonville with that Javon Walker pick. I mean, I think you gotta look at that one a little bit and go, that is an awfully big risk that they are taking with such a premium pick.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know, I'm not gonna say losers, but I'm gonna go head scratcher of the first round. Green Bay, you needed a receiver, man. So I don't know, brother. But what I do got to say is it has been a great show. I think y'all know what time it is, y'all. It's time to cue the music. Because we're out of here, Mike. Good sir, it has been real. How about it, man? Send us off, brother. Well, be part of the send-off here. Where can all these diehard football fans find you, man?
So you can find me on Twitter at @Let'sWine_IESR, talking all things DMV Sports on Twitter. And also be sure to go and check out our blog, iesportsradioblog.wordpress.com. We should have something up there in the next few days, something to wet people's whistle.
It is going to be awesome, as always. Mike Patt is the man. Show him some love. You can follow me, your boy Larry B, at the THEE_LB53. Follow us all the whole lines on IE Sports Radio, at IE Sports Radio, on Twitter and Instagram at IE Sports Radio. Also, give us a like on Facebook. We certainly like that. Show us some love. Check out the website, IESportsRadio.com. Pick up some merch. We love you. We appreciate you all so very much. Thank you to all of our Patreons. You guys are amazing, and thank you all so very much. Of course, everybody who tunes in every week. Well, we are ready to rock and roll. Schedule show is next. We'll have the time and date for you for that. Mike and I will team up yet again for all that fun stuff. Stay tuned, y'all. Carolina Cast coming right on up with Mr. John Felipe. Talk about those Panthers. Oh, I can't wait to hear what he's got to say about their draft. With that said, or well, more of their draft, because he was on last week. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, for Mike Patt, for me, your boy Larry B, We will see y'all next week. Well, we'll see y'all coming up in the coming weeks for the schedule show. Until then, take care, and as always, God bless.